Okay, this is gonna be really fun. Leadership discussions with Anna Liebel.
Hi, Joachim. Hi, everyone.
Hi. No, thanks so much, Anna, for wanting to do this. And it's kind of interesting because we haven't met in real life. We only know each other digitally.
Mm. Which is so common, at least to me, with my online business at the moment. But it doesn't mean that we can't create nice relationships and really connect on some deeper level and have nice conversations and
I think
discussions.
too, and that's something you've learned, isn't it, during this COVID days? That because I've had it in some of my previous interviews that business people, salespeople thought that we have to meet in person, but now when they've been forced to, I think they've learned that this works quite well.
Mm. And there are pros and cons to everything. Like I do miss the meetings in person, right? Because you do get different connection, and it's just chemistry that works differently than just on the
And
screen.
I think all the hugging and touching and all that is sort of also gone. So we are missing things, but you can be really effective. You can have maybe 5 or 10 meetings a day, really, which you before it was maybe 1 or 2. So this is it's good without traveling, and you get home earlier. You are closer to home, so that's good. But
if you leave home, which doesn't happen for me.
Whereabouts in the world are you? Where have I landed this? Because this interview series has been all over. I was in Taiwan, Singapore, Silicon Valley, some Sweden, and everywhere. Where am I today?
Today you are in Iceland, in Reykjavik, so half the way between the two continents.
Yes, fantastic. And how did you end up in Reykjavik? And I haven't asked you that because that's I live in the Helsingborg. It's a city in sort of just north of Malmö, and I know that the Helsingborg region has about 330,000 inhabitants, which is about what Iceland has, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly, it's around 350, 360,000 that we have. Yeah, and 2/3 of that is approximately the capital area.
But why are you in Iceland?
How come? Adventure spirit and curiosity.
Is it
I lived in Sweden for 8 years in Gothenburg, and I really loved it. That city is really in my heart and forever. But me and my husband have been are a bit too curious, and we're like, okay, now we're kind of getting into creating a family, and the settling down thoughts are kind of dropping into our heads. And if we do it here in Sweden, then we're gonna just stay here, but we always will keep in mind what if, or is there any other place that is even better aligned with us, and so on. And at that moment, my husband had to change the jobs. He was doing his PhD at Chalmers, and then after PhD, he would need to move to some other university. That's the good practice in his industry. So we started looking at the opening somewhere outside of Sweden. And at that moment, as I said, we discussed getting family. So we're like, okay, it doesn't make sense to move out of Nordics because Nordic countries are so family focused or family friendly. So we just wanted to keep those good things, but then still try a bit of a different culture and a bit of a different nature with its different landscape, country with the nature and so on. That's why we kind of picked Iceland, and he got a job here at the university and we moved here.
Yeah. Iceland is fantastic. I haven't been to Iceland, but I have a lot of friends here in Sweden who are from Iceland, and fascinating country, isn't it? Sort of. And I must ask you, because I'm a little bit of a Eurovision Song Contest nerd, and the Fire Saga. How was that received? The Fire Saga with Will Ferrell and I don't know what the Canadian actor's name was, but it was sort of by Husavik in at Iceland. I hope you've seen it now.
I actually haven't, and I have no clue about the reaction.
Oh no, you don't have to answer that, but you should see it then. It's the Fire Saga. Okay. It's about an Icelandic band that makes it all the way to the Eurovision Song Contest. It's really weird, and it's a Swedish singer who are doing the voiceover for the female actress Molly Sandén. Fantastic. So
I've heard good reviews about it. It's just that I am so bad at watching movies.
Yeah.
It's usually some kind of documentaries that will educate me.
This one has only been on Netflix, so you have to have Netflix. If you don't have Netflix, you can't see it. Yeah. No, but it's curious. That leads me to curious is, as you said, you are curious. That brought you to Iceland. You could have stayed in Sweden, but what if? And curious is one of our, of all the words you can pick in the world,
Mhm.
we have at Crunchfish, we have picked curious as one of our lead words, core values. And we have curious, we have creative, and we have caring.
Mm.
And now I sort of, well, and you please say what you think and don't say nice things just because you talk to me. But what do you think of these set of words from a leadership perspective?
Well, I love the curious in there. Caring, for example, is a bit more expected, right, as a value, and especially from the leadership point of view. But curious is quite often missed out there. And this is one of the words that I use quite a lot with my clients and in my communication and with my network and so on, because I do want people to get more curious. I work with leaders and their teams, and I want leaders to get more curious about themselves and about their teams, about other people. So for me, this is one of the lead words as well in my work. And I really love to see it as kind of a guideline for the whole Crunchfish family as well. So
Yeah.
I'm very pro for that.
Yeah, no, that's nice. I think I don't know. Sometimes you look at archetypes as well. What kind of archetype are you as a company? And what I know we've always seen right now. I think it is the creator that we create things, but it's also the explorer. It's also a strong archetype for us. We like to explore things. You know, just like everything you think of an explorer is doing. Being curious, wanted to, as you, well, let's leave Sweden, let's go to Iceland instead. You're a little bit of, you must have a little bit of that explorer in you, otherwise you would stay safer,
definitely.
Isn't it?
Definitely. And that is what brought me to Sweden in the first place, because I'm Ukrainian originally, and I was quite okay in my home city, Kiev, in the capital. I was finishing my university degree, the bachelor, and already having a part-time job, and there was a perspective to get a full-time job and a good career in that company and that industry. But I was just like, I want to see how the education is done in some other countries.
Yeah.
So that curiosity brought me to the different, to live in different countries and to live in the life that I live at the moment. Actually, here I want to ask you, because
Sure.
my curiosity has often been like what I see as curiosity, other people would call bravery. So I quite often get those comments like, you're so brave doing this or trying that and whatever. How is it for you? Like, you are curious at Crunchfish. Do you get that input from the outside world? Like, oh, you're so brave trying this out and that out. How is it for you?
I don't know if people see that, but I would agree with you that I think there's a lot of bravery. Certainly an explorer is not just curious, they also act on it. If you're an explorer, you are brave. You do set sail out on the seven seas, and you do that, and you take risks. And yeah, so bravery is definitely in it. I put that part of the yeah, you are curious and you want to do something about it, and you're creative about it. So you find ways, and so I think the creative for me is also important as a value. But I was actually quite interesting that you said, well, caring was kind of expected. I've worked in many organizations where they never, Ericsson, it was professionalism, respect, perseverance. There was no caring, really. It was just being professional and keep pounding at it, and never give up and have respect for people, but no caring.
When was it? Let's tap into that a bit.
When it was these lead were this was in the work for Ericsson. This was in the 90s, so I guess maybe you may have catch up. So maybe we are just we're now with the norm because we use it's not a typical archetype, but before we always also saw family as an archetype at Crunchfish. Whatever you put in the word family, we are a family here that we are, people are, they're allowed to be as they are, and but we take care of each other. We care about each other. So it's the caring came from, in a way, that family aspect of ours, which I didn't actually see as so common as you say, but maybe maybe that has moved on. You know more than me on that.
I do see it a lot, but it's not the word caring that people use or organizations use quite often, but their lead words would be people first, or customer first or employee first, those kind of things. So prior to like prioritizing the human part of your running the business in like before the deliverables, the product, and so on. So this kind of human-centric approach has been on the discussions and on our agendas quite a lot in the last maybe 5, 6, 7 years, I would say.
Which is good because it's all, in a way, it is all about, in a way, especially if you have workplaces where you need to have you need to do things together, creative stuff, and it's and having people motivated and wanted to do it, not just do it because they're paid for it, but really that they are engaged. Then I think, you need to create that little bit of atmosphere. And I must comment on, and I did send you that yesterday. I got it 2 days ago from my eldest daughter. This is the daughter that I interviewed on interview number 7, I think it was, Eleanor. Yeah, she sent me that. She didn't know I was doing these interviews, and I said, this is perfect, because she sent this great article about that they have a competition, in a way. This is a study. They have 4 CEOs, people like me. They have 4 lawyers, and they're 4 master of MBA students, and they have 4 preschool children. And they all put for a test that they have 20 sort of spaghettis, uncooked, and they have, 90 centimeters, I think it was, of Scotch tape, and 90 centimeters of a string, and then a marshmallow. And they're going to build a tower of that, and the marshmallow has to be at the top. And then there's a competition. Who will win that competition? And spoiler alert, it is the preschool children. But what I thought was really cool is that they always won. They've redone this study in many parts of the world. The winners are the preschool children, and I think it's fascinating. And as a leadership consultant, what does that tell us, Anna? Please tell me. I thought it was really fascinating.
I really like that you pinged me there, and I love the picture that you put there, Joachim, with never grow up. It's a trap.
Yeah, don't grow up. It's a trap. Yeah, exactly. I believe in that.
Yeah, and I laughed because I've never been at Crunchfish, and I know only you, and I watched a part of the interviews, right? And the feeling that I'm getting from your organization is that playfulness is a big part of your culture and big part of how you live and how you develop the products, right? With Eleanor, you were talking about like, oh, we played around with these use cases and with like brainstormed about what kind of other use cases can we use our technology for, and those kind of things. And this playfulness is an awesome feature for the companies, and I think that's why you're related so much to that experiment. And
it did touch me on a deep level, and quite, we just did a new branding work, and we came up with this curious, creative, and caring, CCC. Great. Before, we actually had open, playful, and passionate, and passion. I think it was passion. So open. So we did have playful as one of our 3 top words. Of all the words you can pick in the world, we did have playful. So thanks for seeing that.
And I didn't know about that before. So
no, I know you didn't know that. But it was, because there are so many words, of all the words in the world you can pick, but we did pick playful. But right now it's sort of it's part of now the creative and curious. It's a little bit so you sort of almost came to that word yourself, didn't you?
Yeah, it feels natural in your context. We should talk about the general scale or general scheme for leadership and organizations. For me as a leadership consultant, I think how would I say it's to not put anyone in the spotlight in a bad way. There are a lot of schools, like, you say that some people say success is 90% planning and 10% implementation. And then you also have the kind of design thinking school, where it should be a continuous process with iterations and so on, but it's very structured and so on. And then you have organizations like yours, where it's really just like, let's just throw everything at the wall and then see what lands and sticks, right? And I wouldn't say that any of them is worse than the other per se. It's really about how aligned you are. So how you're using, I see those approaches just as tools. And it's good to have a good toolbox. At home, you're not going to be very good at keeping your house fine if you only have a hammer.
Yeah. No, I see what you mean, but I feel what this article also said, that I think if you are getting a conducive sort of work environment, that's sort of and what these preschool children did was they didn't strategize, they didn't make any plan 90% of the time, which maybe the MBA students were doing, and they were just in a way, let's try it out, and then they were all working at it all at the same time, and they were learning very quickly from mistakes, and they was okay, and okay, let's do this instead, and they always won that competition, not because they were smarter, but because they worked smarter as a team, and which it must be extremely interesting for a leadership consultant too, because it's all about them. And that's why I think that's why it touched me when I saw this article, that we are in a way behaving like preschool children at Crunchfish. That's what I put out, that's our secret sauce, that we do that, and I think it's all about to create that environment where you can you can fail, and you can try, and you can do, and we work quickly together. We don't plan much, you know. We have very flat hierarchy. We don't I'm very accessible, and we don't have those strange things as hierarchy. We're taking that out of the equation. But I think some other work where you maybe doing a much more, I don't know, if you have more produced in a way, but for us who are truly needs to be creative all the time, I don't think it would have worked to be too structured. It wouldn't be as effective, I think.
I think what you're tapping into here is, oh, sorry.
Yeah, no, I mean, just because there was one thing which 760% better organizations who can create that work environment, which is huge. And there was a Harvard study on that, looking at 200 companies. And I really would like to pride ourselves that we are one of those that should be, 760% better than others, simply because we have that preschool playground here.
And I think here we're tapping into several things in the startup world, in the Silicon Valley, where you had a couple of guests from. They talk about fail often, right, and fail fast, and about failing forward so that you actually learn. And it's about the culture, right, that you actually dare to take those steps, and you are curious enough to be brave and actually try something without having the guarantee that it will work out. But it's also about the psychological safety. The Google Project Aristotle study about the productivity and high-performing teams. What makes the teams most performing best is actually the psychological safety. So the price that you as a person have to pay to be yourself in this team. And I think this is also part of the playfulness. That's what kids are good at, right? They don't have those filters like, this is not prestigeful enough to say, or I'm kind of better than them, so I shouldn't be doing this task, or those kind of things. They just say whatever they think, be it good or bad. Sometimes it's awkward.
Yeah, but I think that's why, because preschool kids are naturally extremely curious. They're not destroyed yet. And they are certainly creative, fantastically creative. If you ask someone, what can you do with, what's that called, a clipper, sort of a paper clip, and they come up with 200 ways, but where an adult maybe will sit there, struggle at 10. So the creative mind is just phenomenal in young children. And also I think they do learn from there when they are at kindergarten to respect each other. These leaders there are really looking on, making sure that everybody behaves, and you are nice to each other, and so they are taught the caring values very, very nicely. And one question I, in a way, provocative asked, maybe we should have more kindergarten, leaders as CEOs, because if that's the kind of why have we missed that? Because it seems to be that they know something about. Could you apply that to adults as well? What they apply to 6-year-olds? Do you think?
I definitely. I'm not sure they will all have ambition to, or like the type of personality to go for CEO role, but definitely as a trainers, to come in as a consultant and do the training for the leadership team, how to build a culture where you can be curious, caring, and creative, right? because
Yeah.
there they can definitely apply what they have taught or learned as in their teacher education, and what they have experienced with the kids whom they're teaching, and then just bring it to the workplace. I definitely think that's a good idea.
Yeah, I think the article also said one thing about recruitment, that try to look for people that could fit in your culture. It's extremely important. So look for those people that are, so you don't. If you have a good environment, be very careful to keep that great environment. So you're getting other people in there who can just play with you. You don't want someone that. Simply, yeah, that might be wrong. So be careful. I think that was one of the things that, think of that in your recruitment strategy, what you're hiring, which I think would make sense as well.
What are the best practices or in your organization? How do you pay attention to the culture and test people on that matter when you're recruiting?
I'm not as good as a recruiter as I could be, I think, because I just go for gut feeling. I think others, because I think this is important. So I probably should do a better job to do more screen, vet people better or screen people better than I do. I go a little bit just for my gut feeling personally, but I tend not to be the one that, for many roles, it may not be me even interviewing. So I have others doing that. But for some roles, I would, then I'm simply going for, I get a good vibe and for that person rather than, so I guess I am looking for something which is very, it's, I shouldn't say subtle, but it's, it is not cognitive whether I evaluate, I think I told that in a previous interview, I don't know when it was, so that I hired one guy in the US because he had been Whoopi the Magic Clown at children's park. Yeah, no, I was hiring, this was 20 years ago, I was hiring who's going to be the head of the US for my organization. And it was one applicant who had that in his CV, that he had been Whoopi the Magic Clown. And I just thought, if you, with children, because they're very honest, the children, they don't sugarcoat things. If you're boring, you are boring as a clown. They will tell you, and you wouldn't survive as Whoopi. So if you could survive in that environment with children and perform, I felt that you must have extraordinary people skills. That's what I thought. So, and as a leader of the US organization, we need someone who has that. He certainly had similar domain knowledge than anyone else, but just the feeling that he was Whoopi the Magic Clown, that sealed the deal for me.
Has your gut feeling ever kind of led you to a wrong decision for the company?
Sometimes, but then it's, as you said, I don't like, in a way, it's failure is good, but I know what they mean with that, but I try to then be failing fast. I like that okay, then correct, just, oh no, you're on the wrong track, and then reverse very quickly, or change direction quickly. I think so. That has happened, but I tend to trust my gut quite a lot, and sometimes it's, for some reason things doesn't work out, but usually it does. I think going for, I think it's to be in tune with your intuition. I think that's, as a leader as well, is extremely important, because you can put yourself in contact, my feeling, with more powers than you have yourself, because you're in tune with subtle things. If you're in tune with your intuition, you should listen to that inner voice, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And that's part for me of genius leadership that I'm talking about and I'm teaching, that you actually aligned with how you feel. And that might sound woo-woo to some people or too softy in a way, but that's what we all need. And we all have that gut, right? And that intuition.
Yeah. But I think a lot of people have turned off. They're not listening to that inner voice. I think everybody has it, but I think some people are much more in tune with it and listening to it than others, really. So I'm curious, genius leadership, sort of, which is sort of your practice, sort of your as you say, you do online genius leadership. And is it that the leader should be genius, or is it that everybody in the organization should bring out their best potential and become their better self, really? What do you put into the genius leadership, Anna?
It is about bringing the best of you to the table, in a way. And
Both
I
sides.
believe that we all have our zone of genius.
Yeah.
And as we just discussed, it is part of that is the intuition, right? That you kind of get away from being the truly you and being really aligned with what feels good for you and what is your playground. And I'm talking to a lot of leaders who start some business, for example, out of passion, or they climb the corporate ladder because they're good at what they're doing and because they are passionate about it. But then the further they climb, or the bigger the business becomes, the further they get away from their playground, this zone of genius of theirs. And then the leadership becomes a heavy duty instead of being something inspirational, being something where they feel that they're in the flow and they really contribute. And that is what I work with. I really help these leaders to reclaim the zone of genius, finding it, reminding themselves about what is their zone of genius, and then teaching them the tools and techniques to identify, okay, now I'm actually out of that zone, and identify it quicker and get back to it quicker, and then also stay as much as possible in that. And it doesn't mean that you are always in that area, in that zone. Life happens, right? And you as a leader have responsibilities that push you out of that zone. But then you also are aware of that, and you take that as an active decision, and it is your proactive decision instead of being just a firefighter in your organization.
Sure. But your focus is on the leaders as the subject. The leader is the focus. It's not you're not focusing on how the leader should behave in order to bring out the genius of others, be the object of their leadership. So you're focused on the subject rather than the object.
Mostly, yes. So I do step in and help with the team sometimes, but leadership starts with you as a leader. And so much research has shown that the company or the organization or the team can't become better than the leader. So really taking care of that one puzzle piece is creating ripple effects. So this is one of the, it's about the domino effect.
Yeah.
The development of the leader is really that biggest domino that will actually triple those others down.
Sure. I think you're approaching it from the right angle, because I think if you have a leadership out of touch with his sort of comfort zone, or out of touch with his genius, then the team will have a hard time under that leadership. So I think it's definitely something that's, fix that, and then we can start working on, because in a way everybody is a leader of themselves as well. So it can apply all over the place, really. It's not just really the very top. There are leaders all over the place in a way, isn't it?
Yeah, I say that every one of us are leaders, independently of what is saying our LinkedIn or our business card is saying. Because for me, leadership is about 3 dimensions. It's leading in the format or in dimension of one-to-many. It's leading one-to-one and leading one. And this leadership of one, it's self-leadership. That one, everyone is responsible for. And that one actually, if you succeed with that, if every of us would work on ourselves, the world would look very differently to me.
Yeah, I agree. What is, what's the latest trends? Because it's kind of interesting to interview you, Anna, who was sort of following the research, and you're really, you're really into it. What has happened? Say, well, we can take just this last year with COVID. How has that affected leadership? What are the big trends going on right now? And what are people struggling with? Are people more stressed, or people are more in flow right now, or are people where's the world right now, Anna?
So actually, it's both, and there it depends on how the leaders were working before. So if you have been tuning into yourself, if you have been setting some goals for yourself and really aligning those goals with the values of yours, which you need to know for that, then the stress and the crisis that we had in 2020, of course, that made things more difficult, but you were just more aligned. That happened to me actually in March, when people were panicking and just spending hours and hours reading about the news. I started the blog, I started doing some things, and I really kind of geared up, because I was like, people need to feel what I'm feeling at the moment. I haven't been reading news for years because of some personal reasons. I just realized that this is not in my circle of influence. So, and I'm very empathetic person. I feel through the pain that I'm reading about. And that was not constructive. As I said, I'm coming from Ukraine, and it was happening because of the war in there. It just didn't serve me, and it didn't help Ukraine when I was just sitting and reading the news about that. So I shut it off and I stopped reading all the news. So my news are coming from my husband. That's my filter. He knows what to inform me about, and then I try to read more.
I actually, my daughter, I have two. I haven't. My middle daughter, she lives in Stockholm, and it's now in the COVID days. So I haven't talked to her much really. But both my eldest and youngest have very consciously turned off news because it doesn't. It affects them, in a negative way. They feel it doesn't add to my happiness. I don't really have to be part of this. I'm in my own zone in a way, and I'm happy here in a way. It's not that they are disconnected from the world, because they're not. They're very much empathetic and feels the world, but they just feel they don't have to be in this negative stream of crazy news that's going on.
No, exactly. I do read the news. It's just not about the headlines. It's about more kind of scientific or kind of cold facts, things that are not making the headlines of breaking news, because that is really working and manipulating our emotions.
Yeah.
And I know that I am susceptible to that. I really get influenced by that. So I'd rather spend my energy on some projects that can help Ukraine, help the youth there, and so on. And that's what I mean. Like, you need to be aligned with your values as a leader. And if you can work on that alignment and act out of that alignment, you create the ripple effects. You become a better leader. You take yourself emotionally out of the equation when it comes to discussions with your employees, for example. You've done your work. You've done your homework. You know what's going on your side. You're quick enough to understand those things, and you can fully focus on the person in front of you and help them. Be present for them.
Yeah.
Be caring, as you say.
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice way of putting it. I have to ask you another thing. I have a great friend. He was at our board, and we laughed actually. I said I'm going to do this interview, and he has an expression that he sometimes calls me and says, "Let's go." It was one time we went to Barcelona together for the MWC, Mobile World Congress, and it was funny because he said, "Let's go down and vimsing around." And I connected that to these preschool children, because if you look in their, where they are today, in the kindergarten, they are vimsing around, all of them, and we were laughing if he said, I may write a book about management by vimsing around, which I thought was fun. And I promise I will ask you, what do you think of a strategy that you are trying to create a little bit that, you're allowing people to vims around, whimsical, and not at all being, very, let's go like everybody in March, but you allowing that creative chaos in a way. Does that work? Or is that just for me and Michael?
No, I think it could work. The important part for you as a leader, for you and Michael, is to still create some kind of frame, right? You're whimsing around, but you still have a goal as a company. You have responsibilities, right? You need to pay salaries. You have shareholders that need also to have a return on their investments, and so on and so forth. And also, Crunchfish was started out of passion and seeing some pain and some gap in the market, and you're trying to solve that. And you're actually trying to solve quite some, right? With the food waste elimination and so on and so forth. So it's not only about cash going digital, right? You have a lot of other things that you want to help with. And for that, you do need to be creative, but you still need to make sure that this creativity is going in the right direction. So your role is to be this visionary leader and remind people like, hey guys, this is why we're here. And then of course you need to have the space for people to play, to whimse around, to be creative, but you still need to make sure that everyone is aligned in that way, that you are having that goal.
Yeah, I have to tell on tape this story of when I agree 100% what you said, but this guy, Michael, is such a funny guy. We went to Barcelona to Mobile World Congress. We were there on Sunday, they opened on Monday, and we had a great dinner, whimsing around in Barcelona. We was just having fun. And then on Monday morning, I said at breakfast, I said, okay, so let's let's go over to the exhibition. No, he said, I don't think I have time. And I said, what do you mean you don't have time? Well, my flight is at 11:30, so I have to go to the airport. But I thought you're going to go to the exhibition. And he said, no, but you can't just realize I just needed to sleep because I have 3 small children and I could pay anything to just get a full night's sleep. So I didn't know that before. He didn't tell me on Sunday. He told me Monday morning that he'll skip the exhibition and fly home. But he was just dying to get a good night's sleep. It's just, I think it's just such a cute story.
I can relate to that. Just last weekend, I was actually out of town for 2 nights to get the sleep. I'm a mom of 2-year-old, and
Yeah.
she's sleeping through the nights, but she's waking up a bit too early to our taste.
Yeah.
And even if it's the same time that I would like to wake up myself, to have 1 hour for myself.
Yeah.
It's still a different kind of awakening.
Yeah, no, I remember when I lived in Singapore, and we had 2 children in Singapore, and there was one guy who worked there. He told me that one thing you will experience now, having even our first child, is that sleep will become a commodity, something you trade at home. You never used to trade sleep, but okay, I'll do the dish if I just can sleep for 2 hours. So it becomes an asset that you trade. Is that how it's going on in Reykjavik at the moment?
Well, in our family, it's quite good. Actually, we're a super good team with my husband and super supportive. And recently I needed more sleep. I think it's just the tiredness of being a mom, moving with a 5-week-old to a new country and then starting my own business. It's all kind of accumulated, and in the autumn I did feel it. So
and it's great. So he was there, because I think it is sort of very much it needs to be a teamwork, really. I think I personally my wife has just done a phenomenal job, because we a little bit split a little bit leadership, that she has been the leader in the family in a way at home, and I've been more of a leader sort of professionally. So we've been a team in that way, but sometimes I think I've left her a little bit alone, just like, well, we've been extremely effective in a way, but I think sometimes she's been on her knees with tough work, and I've been on my knees for professionally. But we stick together. We just celebrated Mahogny anniversary, which is 31 years.
That's wow. Congratulations. We're gonna have 10 years together this year, and it's going well. I'm
that's I think, do you have that in Ukraine as well, that you have every year? It's I think it's 10 or something in Sweden. If you it's 10 years, I think.
I don't follow those. We need to calculate every time, like, okay, in this
month, well, then you have
years.
but you have to Google them. I certainly didn't know what Mahogny was 31. So but you can look these up, but you have them. I know cotton is maybe 1 year, or plastic or paper.
In Ukraine it's more about 1 year, and then
5, 10,
like 5 and then 7, because it's apparently a tougher period or something, and then it's also like 5, 15 and so on. More like those rounder and half round numbers.
How leading sort of now, do you apply a lot of your leadership skill on your children?
Or
your child? So are you putting her through a lot of tests?
Actually, no. I think it's more vice versa. She's teaching me a lot. I can imagine. And I just talked about it in one of my podcast interviews, that to me she is one of those people who learn me about leadership a lot, because I am very observant of her development, of my interactions with her, our relationship, and that gives me a lot of reminders about how we humans work. And back to the story with the preschool kids, if you can keep that to your adult age, right, it still is human nature. But she shows me what is the most natural to us humans, and I take it into my work with leaders that I'm coaching, and it's the same. Like, she's testing me quite a lot. That's natural for the kids, right? And I'm just journaling about those things, and I'm thinking about it both from the mother point of view and also from the leader point of view. So that goes into my journal quite often in the evening.
Yeah, that's good. But I still believe in that sort of that. Don't grow up. It's a trap. Try to keep your sort of innocent mind and that playful. If you would like to, you know, as a leadership consultant, I'm fishing for free advice here. What should we do? You know, again, we haven't met, but you have done one interview of me, which will be actually broadcasted at the very end of this. I know you put yours out, I think, on February 17th.
Yeah.
I'll do that in our format, but it's the same interview, so we'll do it as well. But what can we learn, do you think, in Crunchfish? How can we improve, or what is there? What can you say, Anna?
It's very hard for me to put in the improvement suggestions because I've only seen kind of a very limited part.
Yeah.
I did watch quite some of the interviews, right, preparing for our conversation for my podcast, and I got some picture of it and about the openness and the curiosity and playfulness that we talked about. But I still haven't seen you on the floor every day in everyday life, right?
Sure.
So there, it's very difficult for me to give some piece of advice on how you can improve.
Yeah, no, I respect that. That's might be putting you on the spot in a way, because it's you don't. I tend to sometimes answer the same way, that if people ask me for advice, and I sometimes say, well, I can give you, you know, but I'm just in Sweden we have, I think it's called a guesstimate in English, but we say killgissa in Swedish. Yeah. Do you know killgissa? Have you heard that? This is what we guys do. We don't know anything what we're talking about, but we're just taking a chance, and then we pretend that we know it. So that's sort of guys guessing. Killgissa in Swedish. Yeah. So but I think it's probably
have enough information. So I would love to give some piece of advice. I do like what you are doing with the, like, really being playful, and the things that we discussed in the YouTube interview for my podcast, right? How you are bold in giving everyone the opportunity to be themselves and really do their work. You have the trust, and you demand trust from the others, right? We discussed it with the board of directors, for example, how they not always happy that you take some decisions without them, and they're like, you're saying you hired me for this job, right? And this is part of my job. I don't need to ask you, and create some extra discussions around that. So I think this is something that is really good to keep nurturing in the company.
Yeah, no, I believe a lot in that, to have that in a way that you, if you feel you are, you know, you can stand up for what you do, just do it. Don't sort of put that in anyone else's hands, really, to make that decision. I still love my, you know, this sergeant, or no, he was sergeant, he was a major who you know, he said to us that, yeah, I'm the boss here when I was doing my military service, and you have to come to me ask for permission, but I always say no. I just love that story. Very grumpy type of military style, but he had a heart, because he said, again, if you can't take responsibility for what you do, why should I take your responsibility? Of course I won't. It's something that teach you a lot for not sort of delegating your own life into other people's hands in a way. You know, you are your own leader. Just you know, carry on.
And I have some clients who are very resistant to this responsibility word in the beginning of our work. When I'm saying, like, okay, you're responsible for your own life, and they're like, and I'm saying, look at that. Like, for me, responsibility and power are two sides of the same coin. If you want to have power in your life and for your life, you need to take responsibility.
Sure, I agree. So, yeah, because otherwise it's sort of that's a sad thing with people when they come to the office. They lead at home, they're parents, and it's much more dear things than what they do at their work. But all of a sudden, when they come to work, they degrade themselves that now I'm not a leader anymore. I'm just you know. And almost feels that's sad, actually, and that's what you have to create, that environment, because people are, as you said, they are genius in themselves, really, and just try to, you know, bring that out really as the best you can. Is that what leaders is about, to try to create that conducive environment for everybody to become their own best genius? Is that leadership?
Yeah, it is. It's about giving space and showing by example what people can achieve themselves.
Yeah, no, I think that's a nice way of ending the interview. Sort of, it's about to give people space and you know, and lead by example. That's nice. That's sort of, in a nutshell, that's what it's all about. It's quite simple, really. Why do we need you consultants?
Yeah, why? because we needed to talk for 40 minutes about this to come to this nutshell.
No, I think it is. It's easy to say, but I guess it's harder to practice, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Don't forget now to watch the Fire Saga. But maybe you're not sort of a Eurovision Song Contest nerd. Even Ukraine, you know, Ruslana with Wild Things won, and you have the best song ever with this Ein, zwei, drei or something.
Yeah,
that was,
actually, a fun fact for my podcast, the intro and the outro is taken from a song of Ukrainian band, and they were actually auditioning for the 2020. They were in the finals of the 2020 Eurovision for Ukraine.
Fun fact, especially for me, who's a bit of a nerd for Eurovision. Yeah. Excellent, Anna. No, but thank you so much for volunteering. Thanks for taking an interest, even if we haven't met. You've been a very nice people to get acquainted to, and let's just keep in contact. Who knows what's going to happen, really?
Absolutely. Thank you, Joachim, for the opportunity, and let's keep playing together.
Yeah, let's keep playing together. I like that. Okay, thanks a lot, Anna.
Bye.
Take care. Bye-bye.